Hi, I'm Nyatta Mary Woods, and if you're here, I'm really excited. I'm excited because this is a really great new project that I'm doing, and if you're here, it means that you believe in some shape or another you're a part of it, and you want to hear what I have to say, and you believe what I have to say matters, and that excites me because I believe what I have to say matters. Through my experience, I've learned that coming into a new situation, a new thought process, a new idea, it's best to do two things. One, put down your shoulders, just lower your shoulders and breathe. Lower your shoulders and breathe. And two, realize that you have no idea what I'm about to say. You have no idea what I'm about to say, and you have no idea how this is going to impact your life. You don't know. All you need to know is that you decided to invest into me, into this project, into this program, into this really awesome trailblazing place where people like you and I can come together and truly be the realness that we so just wholeheartedly want to feel in each one of our relationships, right? But at the end of the day, this is life, and we have to become who we need to be no matter what anyone else is doing, no matter how other people are not showing up or showing up in their lives. We have to be who we need to be. And what I find is that because this is life, or what I have found is that because this is life, you're going to go through hardships. You're going to go through seasons where you don't know who you are. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what to do. You're going to go through seasons where you're complacent. Everything is going well on the outside, but inside you're feeling horrible and just displaced and not where you want to be. There are seasons where you feel really good, and then the rug is pulled from under you and you're just like, what has happened? And what I want to do, I want to help you show up in those seasons as the person that God created you to be. And because of that, I know that there's one thing that is not, for a lack of a better word, preached or pushed into the system of humanity the way it should be. And that's talking about grief. Grief is something that we all know about it, but at the end of the day, we don't always talk about it. We don't always talk about how grief affects us and how it continues to affect us when we don't identify the purpose of it. How it can be stagnant and just sit in our lives and affect us in ways that we could never imagine because we don't talk about it. Grief is not normal to conversation. It's not a part of breakfast talk or dinner talk. It's not date talk. When you bring up death in any form or fashion, you can be considered a Debbie Downer, okay? Grief is not something that we like to embrace. It's something like that we like to look at as being seen apart from us. Something that may happen to us, something we have to get over. But grief is not something that we embrace as a part of our system, as a part of our lives, as a part of our DNA. Death is inevitable. And I'm not just speaking of physical death, human being death, the one that affects us the most. I'm talking about the death of people, places, and things in our lives that we never see coming, or we do see coming, but we ignore the effects of them. Grief is a part of life. And if we don't look at grief as the gift that it is, it will distract us from doing and being the people that we're meant to be and doing the things that we know we're meant to do. No holding back. Back back in 2011, I created a semi-scripted improv show called The Grandstand. It stood for He Stands, meaning God stands for us. The Grandstand was the pinnacle and nucleus of me bringing artists together and really helping them hone in on their weaknesses, in inciting their vulnerability and their intimacy issues to really bring them to a place of authenticity. And that's where or when No Holding Back was developed. Then I don't think I knew that the title was going to be No Holding Back, nor did I know that it was going to be a guiding principle in my life. But 12 years later, I realized that not only has it been a guiding principle, but it has been something that has defined every relationship in my life. And it's been something that has let me know when people shouldn't be in my life, or when I'm out of position, or when I'm just not where I think I should be out of position. So no holding back is a guiding principle that I live by. The basis of it is a practical application of you, me, anyone being able to be intimate, vulnerable, and authentic with the people in their lives, in our lives. Because doing this will clearly filter out anything or anyone that's not meant to be in our lives. And it's critical that we have the right people in our lives. And it's critical that we're in the right surroundings in our lives, that we're in the right situations in our lives. And I want to just define right, because everything that's right is not good. And everything that's right doesn't feel good. And everything that's good isn't right. So even though we want to make sure we're in the right places at the right time, doing the right things, those might not be places or situations we want to be in. But they're right for our lives because there's something about them that is good for us, and that's going to feed us, and that's going to nourish us to be who we were created to be. But those situations are for us and us alone. Being in those situations, there are people that are ordained to be a part of your life, that are ordained to support you, encourage you, push you, even hate on you. And you want to be where you're meant to be to gain whatever it is you need to gain from those situations. So when you are intimate, and intimacy meaning when you really allow yourself to get to the most sensitive place of yourself. When we are intimate with the people that are in our lives, and we allow ourselves to get close, we allow ourselves to be seen, we allow ourselves to be recognized, to be weak, to be human. We allow the closest people in our lives to see our core. When we allow ourselves to share vulnerably our fears and our mistakes and our ideas that we don't always honor, when we allow ourselves to share the shame that comes up for us, or the disappointment, or the self-loathing, or the confusion, the indecisiveness. When we allow ourselves to share those things with the closest people in our lives, we get to truly filter out what's real and what's not. We get to embrace new ideas. We get to see things from different sides of the coin, which is important because there's never nothing going on. And when we're able to share with the closest people in our lives who we are in whatever space we're in, wherever place we're in, then we get to get confirmation or not of the path we're on. The question that has continued to come up in the last 2 weeks as I've brought up who are the closest people to you? How do you decipher who the closest people in your lives are? People, even myself, have been a little skeptical about how I break that down. Well, I tell you this. In the beginning of this year, approximately January 11th, I began a journey, a short journey, a painful journey of having a miscarriage. And it's been something that has changed my life. And I'll tell you this, when I was 16, I had an abortion. I didn't tell anyone. Only a teacher's assistant in my high school English class knew, because she's the one who helped me get the information to have the abortion. I was convinced that my mom and grandmother would talk me into having one anyway, so I did it. And when I was 21, I had an abortion. This time I went to my grandmother and I told her, and deep down inside, because of the fear that I had and the unfamiliarity of worthing pregnancy, I grew up in a space where women, mothers, did not worth pregnancy. They did not worth childbirth or having babies. It was always portrayed as being a burden. So I never really got an opportunity to know what it felt like to be with child and be excited, because in my community, it was looked down upon, especially because it was an epidemic of young girls getting pregnant at a very young age. So at 21, I had an abortion. I was about to transfer to another school, colleges, and it seemed like the right thing to do, and my grandmother co-signed, and that's what I did. So over almost 20 years later, being in a position to get pregnant and have gone through different things, as a year and a half ago, I had fibroids removed from my uterus, and that was a process. It was my first surgery ever. As a woman, and even becoming pregnant, it was like a miracle to me. But then it was very short-lived. As approaching my second trimester, I had this miscarriage that was the most physically painful, exhausting, and emotionally traumatizing thing that I believe a woman could go through. One of the most traumatizing things, because Lord knows there's many things that we as people endure, let alone women. But because of my faith, my heart, my purpose-driven nature, I found myself at a very young age. It was in the cards for me to know that I was someone who was filled with purpose at a very young age. It was in the cards for me to understand that I wasn't on a dummy mission being on this earth, regardless of the cards that I was dealt, regardless who my parents were, how educated or uneducated I was, regardless of what class I was in economically. I always knew that there was more for me. And that, I would say, has made me privileged, because the wisdom that I allow myself to absorb is by far anything that the world could ever give me in a shallow, stupid way. I am a scholar when it comes to believing that there is beauty in the breakdown, that there's purpose in the destruction, that there's purpose in the grief, and that we are not here to succumb to our weaknesses, but we're here to thrive on what we go through that makes us strong. We're here to thrive, to show people that when we're at our weakest point, there's a power greater than us that wants to remind us that there's a power greater than us, that if we tap into what we really know, which is that feeling inside that makes us uncomfortable when we're in the midst of situations that are uncomfortable, that we know are not right, which feel different from when we're in something that we know is right, but because of trauma and grief, we mix up the two. How do you become grounded in the midst of all of this? How do you be able to hear what is true for you and what the other person is talking is not true for you? How do you become grounded in that? I became grounded in embracing wisdom. Wisdom for me is something that helped me realize that being a people pleaser was a part of my training. Wanting to please people was a part of me learning how to serve. Being a people pleaser was not only the death of me, it was what helped me survive to become me. A lot of things that we go through, because this is a broken world, they're meant to break us out of the bondage. They're not meant to have us be sealed inside of the bondage. So for me, embracing wisdom is like finding how to play a new game fast. So this is part 1, no holding back. I've shared a lot for you to take in and embrace and think about, stew in, digest, just embrace. There will be a part 2 coming soon. Understand that your investment in yourself, in your wellness, in your identity is not in vain. $13.99 will definitely not break you. Even if you homeless sleeping on La Brea and Sunset Boulevard, $13.99 will not break you. It's what you do with the $13.99 that blesses you. So I just pray into you right now, and I thank God that your investment into me, into this program, into your wellness brings you a plentiful harvest of confirmation, compassion, and certainty that you're exactly where you're meant to be. So I am doing a raffle. I will be picking the winner of the raffle in part 2 of No Holding Back. And if you want to be a part of the raffle, then I would say look out for part 2 when the video is available. If this bless you, feel free to email me at nhbnoholdingback@gmail.com. Feel free to message me on Instagram at Nyatta Mary Woods. Feel free to message me on Messenger via Facebook, Nyatta Mary Woods. Check out my menu, my dessert menu here on blessfoodsla.com. Also, I have my Bless Foods LA organic dog food, and lots of great things happening. Mama's healing, and I'm blessed that I have a beautiful partner. I have a beautiful man that loves me, and I'm living my life. And I'm so grateful for January. This time last year, I was starting therapy, and I'm just so grateful. 12 months has blessed my life, and there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of grief. There's been a lot of drama, but I've been shored to take everything that I've gone through and know that I am not on a dummy mission. So part 2, we're going to talk about how we work through the grief, how we work through the discomfort, how we work through the feelings that come up for us inside of triggers, inside of just being pissed and not knowing how to process or deal with the shit that is going on in our lives. That's going to be part 2. And thank you. Thank you for investing in me, and thanks for investing in yourself. And understand that my first marriage positioned me to be broken. The miscarriage broke me. Broke me means it positioned me to realize that all we have is who we are and who we're going to be and who we're going to show up to be. And I didn't want my miracle, even though by the grace of God, for whatever reason, that miracle won't be manifesting. I didn't want my miracle to have ever existed in vain. So I want to share my stories. I want to share my experience. And most of all, I want to help you apply the wisdom that you've obtained in your life through your experience to your purpose, for your calling, so you can walk away knowing who you are, whose you are, and what you're about. That's all God wants. Trying to be perfect, trying to get it right, nah. He just wants you to know that with him, all things are possible. Okay, love ya. Talk to you soon.